The diner went silent when the girl's scream cut through the chatter, a sound so raw and painful it made every fork stop mid-air. No one moved. No one spoke. But an hour later, when the roar of engines echoed from the distance, the bullies realized that silence would be their biggest mistake. Hey everyone, welcome back to Grateful Tales. Before we begin, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories that touch the heart and remind us that kindness always wins. And let us know in the comments, where are you watching from today? We love hearing from our global family. It was a quiet afternoon in a small-town diner just off the highway. The kind of place where the smell of coffee lingered longer than the customers. In one corner sat a young girl named Lily. She was maybe 14, her body frail, her hands trembling as she tried to lift a straw to her milkshake. Lily had been in a wheelchair since birth, her legs unable to carry her, but her eyes carried more life and warmth than most people could ever understand. She was there with her mom, Sarah, a tired but gentle woman who worked 2 jobs just to make sure her daughter could have moments like this, small escapes filled with laughter and chocolate shakes. At another table, a group of teenagers laughed loudly, mocking everyone who passed by. They were the kind who thought power came from making others small. Their leader, a tall boy in a varsity jacket, noticed Lily struggling with her cup. He whispered something to his friends and they all chuckled cruelly. Moments later, they walked over pretending to be friendly. Sarah smiled politely, unaware of what was about to happen. The boy leaned over and said, "You shouldn't be out here, cripple girl. People are trying to eat." Before Sarah could react, one of them slapped Lily's milkshake across the table, spilling it over her lap. Then another pushed the wheelchair slightly, laughing as Lily's small cry filled the air. The diner froze. Every eye turned toward them, but no one moved. Sarah's face went pale. She clutched her daughter's hand, her lips trembling. The bullies laughed and walked out like nothing had happened. A few people mumbled about kids these days, but no one followed them. The cook behind the counter just wiped the same spot again and again, his jaw tight but his courage silent. Sarah quietly cleaned up the mess, whispering comfort to her daughter while tears slid down both their faces. They left soon after, their dignity bruised but their hearts still trying to stay strong. An hour later, the sound of heavy engines broke the quiet. 1, 2, then 6 motorcycles pulled into the diner's parking lot. The glass windows shook slightly from the rumble. The men who walked in weren't ordinary bikers. They were big, rough-looking, the kind people avoided, tattoos on their arms, leather jackets covered in patches. But behind those hardened faces was something deeper, something forged from loyalty and justice. The leader, a broad man with a graying beard and eyes that missed nothing, looked around and said in a low voice, "We're looking for a little girl and her mom. Wheelchair. They were here an hour ago." The waitress nodded nervously, pointing to the corner booth where the incident had happened. "They left crying," she said softly. "Some kids hurt them." The biker's jaw tightened. He didn't say a word, just looked at his crew. Without needing to speak, they all understood. They weren't here for food. They were here for something else. He turned back to the waitress and asked calmly, "Do you know where those boys went?" She pointed toward the gas station across the street. The roar of engines started again. Moments later, the bikers were gone, crossing the road, parking in a tight formation. The teens were there, laughing near their car, still boasting about what they'd done. The bikers approached slowly, and silence swallowed the parking lot. The leader took off his helmet, his expression unreadable. "You think it's funny to hurt a little girl?" he asked quietly. The boys shifted, their confidence flickering. "It was just a joke," one muttered. But before they could move, the leader stepped closer, his voice turning cold. "No, a joke makes people laugh. You made her cry." The oldest biker took out his phone and showed them something. A photo of his own daughter sitting in a wheelchair, smiling. "That little girl you hurt? She's like my kid," he said, voice trembling with contained rage. "You think because someone looks weak they are? Let me tell you something. Those who fight battles you can't see are the strongest ones alive." The bullies stood frozen, their faces pale. One of them whispered, "We didn't mean—" But the leader cut him off. "You meant every word when you laughed at her. Now you're going to make it right." He made them walk back to the diner with him. The whole town watched as 6 bikers escorted the trembling boys inside. Sarah and Lily had returned to pick up Lily's lost scarf, unaware of what was happening. When they saw the boys, Lily's eyes widened with fear. But the biker leader knelt beside her, his rough hand gentle as he said, "Hey, sweetheart, these boys have something to say." The teens mumbled an apology. their voices barely audible. The leader frowned. Louder. This time they spoke clearly. We're sorry, ma'am. We're sorry, Lily. Sarah's eyes filled with tears as she nodded, accepting the apology not for them, but for her daughter's peace. Then something unexpected happened. The leader took off his leather jacket and wrapped it around Lily's shoulders. This jacket stands for loyalty and protection, he said softly. From now on, you're part of our family. No one messes with family. The other bikers smiled, and one gave her a small patch that read, Steel Hearts MC. Lily touched it with trembling fingers, smiling through her tears for the first time that day. The diner, once silent and cold, filled with warmth and clapping. Even the cook stepped out and said, Milkshakes on the house, for everyone. That day changed something in that small town. People remembered what it meant to stand up for what's right. The bullies never laughed at anyone again. In fact, they started volunteering at the local disability center. And every few weeks, the rumble of motorcycles would return, not for revenge, but for friendship. The bikers would sit with Lily and Sarah, sharing stories, laughter, and love, proving that real strength isn't measured in muscle, but in the courage to protect those who can't fight back. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe to Grateful Tales. Every share spreads a message of kindness and courage, and reminds the world that compassion still exists. Tell us in the comments what you would have done if you were in that diner, and where you're watching from. Until next time, remember, in a world full of noise, let your kindness be the loudest sound.